Let me get to Catherine Herridge from the Fox.
Good. Thanks for having me.
General James Mattis up earlier. That would, if he got the job.
Experience in the military. He was the commander for CENTCOM. This is a command that over Syria, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. But as for a civilian, the Department of Defense and confirmation program they made to do.
In the same, his name had been tossed around as possibly SecDef.
Well, the caution I would give everyone is that all the names that are kind of out there very publicly, it's a little bit of a fake sometimes, right?
Yeah.
They're sort of testing the waters, but also some people, you know how Washington works, it's about self-promotion, and they're pushing their names out into the public discussion because they want these jobs. I don't think that's the case with General Mattis by any stretch, but that's certainly been the case with others.
Yeah. How about Secretary of State? What are we hearing on that front? Is it true that Mitt Romney is at the top of the list?
I don't know who's at the top of the list, but we know that Romney's in play, Giuliani's in play, John Bolton is in play. I mean, there are a half dozen people. It's, if you think about how you make cabinet selections, it really is very much like a chess game, sort of combined with a toolbox. Okay, and let me sort of explain this. You have to think through the implications, not just sort of one, but two, but three moves ahead of the people you select. And it's also like a toolbox because you want people who can open doors to you to constituents within the Democratic Party or within the Republican Party that you don't naturally have access to. And also people who can open doors to parts of the world that you think will be central focus for your foreign policy. So you have to really bring these things together. And sometimes, it's like in life. It's not always the best person who gets the job, but it's the person who has the skills that are really required in that moment.
Yeah. So he's taken a lot of heat for Michael Flynn at this point.
Right.
Is that...
That's fair? Is that what you're going to say?
Is it fair? Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's fair in the sense that Mike Flynn spent a couple of years sort of in the wilderness here in Washington. He got pushed out of his job, and by all accounts, on my reporting, he got pushed out of the job because he was telling people what they didn't want to hear, which is that things were not going well in Iraq and Syria, and that the strategy was failing, and that ISIS was growing, and that the administration did a great disservice by not, fully exploiting the documents that were taken from Osama bin Laden's compound in 2011 to better understand what al-Qaeda is today and the direction that they're taking. So some of the criticism, I think, is that he's a guy who, breaks the China. Some people don't like that. And also, this is just not what a lot of career people were counting on here in Washington. They were counting on their people getting these jobs and sort of for the golden revolving door to continue, right? And that's just not happening for a lot of people. And this is not just disappointing, but these are scenarios where people are not going to have jobs in 2 months, and they were not counting on that. And they've got mortgages, and they've got expenses like everyone else. So I think some of the attacks this is not what people were planning on, and they're a little bitter about the outcome.
And it looks like, and I know they're saying now it could be sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas till we get a full list of people. But, the names he's thrown out there, Flynn was a Democrat. I think they mentioned a congresswoman from Hawaii who's a fairly liberal Democrat. I mean, this cabinet could still be fairly diverse, right?
I think it certainly has the potential to be diverse. The thing that I'm sort of taking away right now from the names that are out there is that they want to really sort of professionalize the government again. And what I mean by that is take people who have a couple of decades of experience or more and put them into these jobs. One of the criticisms of the current administration is that they had some young people who were very bright and had some great ideas, but they really lacked mileage, if you know what I mean by that.
Right.
Didn't have a lot of experience, and this really, I think, came to show in some of the agreements that were struck and some of the strategies that were pursued. I can tell you from my own reporting with Guantanamo Bay in particular. So this is a real sea change, it looks like, with President-elect Trump, and certainly with the names, it may be more diverse than people would expect.
It's an excellent point. Catherine Herridge, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, have a great Thanksgiving. We appreciate getting a few minutes of her time today with a sort of an inside look at what she thinks on how this cabinet is shaping up. Tony Colombo's in the house. He's been out shooting another man on the street for us today. We'll get to see that Wednesday afternoon. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's going to be a good one this week. Can't wait to bring that to you on Wednesday. Also, just as part of that conversation, make sure you listen to the Dave Glover Show that afternoon. Speaking of the cabinet, we are talking to a gentleman who is being rumored to be in the running for Secretary of the Defense Department, former Senator
Jim Talent.
Jim Talent.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
He's going to be on the show today.
I'm glad he responded to you guys. I had Liz reach out to him, and he never called me back. So be sure and ask him about that.
Him and Dave have I will. I will.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, he's been joining us. He's been joining us every other week for a long time.
That.
No, but what I'm saying,
he's on the Allman Show all the time too.
No, but what I'm saying is, will that relationship continue if he becomes a member of the Donald Trump cabinet? I doubt that we will continue our regular discussions with Senator Talent.
It is funny though how these names are being thrown around, and one minute it's Talent being mentioned, the next minute this General Mattis is being mentioned, and I mean it's Nikki Haley from South Carolina for potentially for the Department of State. I mean it's just. I think they're throwing a lot of names at the wall, and he's already probably made his mind up on who it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's before we run out of time, let's remind people of the Twitter poll again, please.
Yeah, Twitter poll is up now, and it's only been up for like an hour and already over 100 votes, so that's great. Keep it up. Get your voice heard. This week's Mark Cox Show Twitter poll has to do with the increase in violence against police recently. We ask you that when Donald Trump takes office, do you think things in that regard will get better, get worse, or stay the same? Go vote at Tony Colombo 971, at Mark Cox.